Hey guys, so you are joining me from the very rainy UK today. The storm that we've been waiting for is finally here. I'm at my mum's in the country at the moment, so not in my usual setup, even though this is not any more professional because you're on a dining room chair and I'm sat on the floor, as always. But it's more about the content and what we talk about, what we discuss, rather than what it looks like at the moment. And that's my positive mental attitude, because I know I won't be sat on the floor perching my phone against a seat cushion on a dining room chair forever. So I hope that you're all well, and today I just wanted to talk about filling your cup and making sure it's full. And I think for a while I've been putting so much pressure on myself, like for months, so much pressure on, you need to get back to where you should be, and you could be doing more, like you should be doing more. Like I've been shoulding on myself, and I have very high standards for myself in terms of my career and my goals, and my standards in general. Sorry, it's just people outside. And you know, this is something I've always done, I guess. And you know, since lockdown and quarantine and everything, I've just been like, everything has changed. Like everything has changed, and my whole life has changed. Everything. I've recently made a decision to move out of London, and I've lived there for 4 years. And at the beginning of the year, like no one could have told me that I would have moved out of London ever. But everything has changed. Everything. I haven't had a job for months. Like I haven't worked for, like, no, don't get me wrong, I've had a couple of temp jobs, but I haven't worked like properly for months, since the beginning of March. June, July, August. 5 months, and only one whole month of those 5 months have I worked, and even then it was a part-time position. And obviously I'm grateful for that opportunity, but my point is that everything has changed. I've had a lot of time for reflection, a lot of time. Like I work better when I have more to do, so not having anything to do, like I've had so much time, and so I'm really hard on myself when I'm like, Catherine, you haven't done anything. Like look at all the time that you've had, you haven't made any progress. But that's what I mean, like maybe that's okay. It's okay to just take tiny steps forward. And Rachel Hollis, who is an amazing motivational speaker, who is literally like the woman that changed my life, she says, what is she? I'm just trying to remember how the quote goes, but it's something like, you can go as slow as you want but never stop. Like you can literally crawl. It's like, this is not what Rachel Hollis says, but it's another quote, but it's like, if you can't run, walk, and if you can't walk, crawl. Like do what you have to do, but don't stop moving forwards. And I keep remembering that, because when I have all these high standards and these things where I'm like, you should be doing more, you should be doing more, you should be doing more, and having these deadlines, and like, when am I going to publish my book, and when am I going to bring out my next sort of project within the IAB project, when am I going to start working in schools, when am I going to make new contacts, when am I going to get another job, when am I going to do this, when am I going to do that, and sort of making this like expectation of myself that I'm not fulfilling. And I sort of was like, why am I not fulfilling it? Is it because it's not motivational enough? No, it is motivational enough. It's just maybe I'm trying to pour from an empty cup right now, and maybe I'm focusing on like the long-term stuff, so like what I want to do in, you know, a year or month's time, whereas like right now I'm like, what do I need right now? I think there's still a big part of me that's I was talking about this to my therapist the other day, about how I'm grieving the old part of my life that I had. Like at the beginning of the year, I, as they say, had my shit together. Sorry if you got kids in the room. And I knew what direction I was going in, I knew what I wanted, and that version of Catherine was in the right place and knew the direction that she wanted to go in, and everything got turned upside down. And I think this is a massive reevaluation of how I'm moving forward. And there are things that have happened, for example me moving back here, that have made me question the path I was on before, being like, was it what I wanted, or was it just like a happy coincidence that I was in that position and it sounded good, and I was just so like blinkered that I had to go down that path that I forgot that there were other options. And especially when it's something that's really out of my control, I really struggle to let go of stuff. And there's definitely been a few things that I've really struggled to let go of, and I feel like I'm letting myself down and all these expectations and standards, and you know, it's a lot. And if you're like me and you have high expectations and you, oh, I just smudged my nail, I only did them today. If you have those high expectations and you should all over yourself and you have the endless to-do list and the goals, you know that it's hard to let yourself pause. Like, in my eyes right now, I'm saying I'm having a pause. Like, I'm at my mum's and I'm pretty chilled, like sleeping, eating, like just generally being rather than doing. But in my head, I'm still doing, and I still have those expectations and those standards, and so I'm not really pausing. I'm physically pausing, and then I feel worse because I'm like, you're not doing enough. And it's a really deep-rooted habitual thing for me to say, like, you should be doing these things and you're not. It's not that I'm not enough as a person, but I'm not doing enough. And then that goes into the, how are you ever going to get the dreams that you want? How are you ever going to achieve those goals? How are you going to be a high performance person? How are you going to do X, Y, and Z by this time? Because that's the time that I, you know, had like a rough deadline of when I wanted to do things by. Like, how are you going to do that? And it's about holding myself accountable, you know, that if I don't set deadlines and I don't say, oh, this is when I want to do this, or this is how I'm going to do this, like, no one's going to do it for me, you know. So I feel like I work better with that sort of structure. It's really tough. It's really tough, you know. If any of what I just said sort of relates to anything that you feel or do yourself, it is really hard. It is really hard. I did a sort of a little activity today, which was I just put what brings me joy on a piece of paper, and I just listed all the things that came to my head, and that was from like writing my book to listening to motivational videos to laughing. Like, I love laughing. Who doesn't love laughing? Snuggling babies, making pancakes, going for walks in nature, the smell of rain, the smell of earth when it rains. Like, all of these things bring me joy, and I just kept like writing it down, and I just thought, I need to fill my cup up more because something is obviously lacking. There's something in me that's going, I don't have enough of this. And that's kind of the main point that I wanted to get across to you, that no matter what season you're in right now, that it's so important to just make sure that you're finding joy for you. And, you know, sometimes it brings me joy making, not sometimes, but like sometimes if I, for example, I'm making a jar right now with different colored bits of paper in, and on each bit of paper, each colored bit of paper is like a different thing. So for example, yellow is like a positive song to listen to, purple's like positive affirmations, and there's like different ones there. And that's for my friend, like, it's not her birthday or anything, but she's feeling pretty down, and I was like, I wanted to make this for her, so I just spent like £8 I think it was, and I just bought these things, and I'm going to sit down and make it for her. And it's like, that thing brings me joy because I know that she's going through a hard time, and it will be positive for me to be able to give her something positive to help her. So that's what I mean by, like, sometimes like I'm specifically being like, I'm going to do this to help other people, and just that list to kind of just remind me of how I just need to like fill my cup up first, and also just give myself some freaking grace that the position I'm in right now is hard. Like, no one asked for this, and so much is unknown, and I don't know. Yet again, a massive change is happening this year. The first one was leaving my old flat in London to come into lockdown for 3 months, and I moved back to London for 2 months, and now I'm back here for a couple of weeks, and then I'll be in London, and then I'm going back permanently. And it's like, that's crazy that I'm going back here after 4 years when I said I was never going to come back. And it's weird how I'm going to end the year in a completely different place. And I need to give myself some grace because I'm shitting all over myself, and I'm grieving, and I'm adjusting, and I'm reevaluating, and there's lots of parts of me that are scared and nervous, and unhappy and sad and anxious, and then there are parts of me that are liberated and feeling youthful and excited, and those are the things I want to really push to expand on. And maybe right now the place you're in is a similar place, and maybe writing a list of things that bring you joy and reminding yourself of to give yourself some grace and to do the things that make you happy for you, just those small things, that they're important too, and fill your cup up, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And this time and this season that we're in right now, this will pass. No matter what we do, good or bad, it will pass. So that's kind of where I'm at now. So yeah, I am feeling positive in a lot of ways. Like, I've got a lot of ideas in the pipeline for the IAB project, and I'm remembering how far I've come since I first thought about the IAB project, and now where it's at now, and I'm like, what's it going to be like in another 2 years? And I'm beyond excited about it. It fills me with a lot of joy. So there's definitely some big things coming next. There's been a lot of planning and a lot of thinking, a lot of ideas, a lot of talking and research. Yeah, now it's all gonna come to a head, so it's very exciting. Anyway, I hope you're well, and that you're looking after you, because you have to look after you first before you can look after anybody else. We're gonna be alright. We are. Anyway, talk soon.